The little handles for the cabinets actually started out being very big handles for the wife. Don't do this at home.
No, you're supposed to put it all down below like this and then lift them up. Two of them. Why would you lift up one breast?
We're not lifting them up.
What are you doing?
We're separating them.
Since we're doing the cabinets in this episode, William is rushing around trying to clean up his mess and make this look a little more decent for you guys. But we all know, if you are following us since Don Hunter 1, you know that this mister is a mess maker. Welcome back to Don Hunters.
And now you see why we need these on board.
My name is Yana.
And I'm Slay William.
That was a good one. If you haven't watched us before, we went from trawler to a steel monohull that we refitted for 3 years, then fiberglass catamaran in Thailand, and then now...
Aluminium Expedition Sailboat.
No, it's not true. It's a catamaran. And by the way, I put the camera so low that I'm kind of squatting here.
She's practicing for that little toilet.
Wow, it's very small. Why is it so small? The big one couldn't fit, or it's too heavy, or what is it?
You have to look in the other episode.
Yes, if you haven't watched the tiny toilet episode, make sure you check the previous episode. We're gonna link it right here. So, as I mentioned, in this episode, we're gonna be doing cabinets.
We're not doing cabinets.
Microphone to you.
We need input from the cabinet expert so that the builder can finish these things.
Yes, am I doing everything right?
Get the fish.
I think I'm gonna make fire. I feel like I'm drilling to the moon at this. If you are a cabinet expert like me, make sure you leave a comment below because we love reading those. See you in the episode.
So in an effort to get all this crap cleaned out of here, it all has little pieces, and I've been waiting for Yana to get here and take a look at choices, because once she says yes or no, then I can attach what I have to attach, and then I can get everything else out of the way.
Yana is the one actually holding this camera, so sounds like BS. You guys think that just once I'm gonna talk about this and we can discuss that he gonna clean this up? Hell no!
Okay, Smarty Pants, what is this?
A boat part.
Wrong. It's an enclosure magnetic for the doorways, and I need to know whether or not we are able to use these or I have to do some other latch. Door's already in, so now we have to decide what kind of hardware, because before I can finish the insides, I have to know what I'm mounting. And I came up with some ideas of using magnetic closures, which are dual and they're very strong. If I use these, then I have to build a little channel to hold them inside. So I've got to know whether or not Yana likes the hardware for opening and closing before I decide how to keep them shut. Using Dyneema lines, and that way we're not catching them on our clothes like the other boats. We slide somewhere and suddenly our belt loop's caught, or Yana's slamming the door so hard that the hinges are falling off.
So I think I like this one better, but then our friend Captain Nut brought a very good point that when you are on the way, this is gonna make noises because there are a bunch of them. They're gonna be doing this. William is a noise nut. He hates weird noises, little noises. They really bother him because I think he's an engineer and he's always listening if something is wrong. So that's gonna drive him nuts, I know for sure.
We're listening when something's gonna be broken in advance.
I think we gotta stick with this one, but I really like it. I think it's very nautical and it's very different. I don't know how it's gonna be usage-wise in a long time, but I like it.
I think the other advantage is that if I want to get a meal cooked, I can always tie Yana to this hoop and she's got to stay in the galley, and I'm not going to release it until we have our eggs done correctly. We've also repurposed a lot of the hardware in the rings. These rings were from the old doors. No sense throwing them away. Now, if we can use this for opening the door, then to close it, we can use this other item, which is dual magnetic lockers.
So that's how they're gonna go.
What makes them cool is they're self-adjusting. So when you lock the door, it pulls it in tight, but when you open the door, they open up. So now the door can spin out, and when you bring it, it's already not closed all the way, and you just bump it with your hip, and it closes to the correct position. I think with these hips, I'm going to need to have about 8 of those on there. The good news, the cabinets are all ready for hardware. The bad news is, if you screw it up, it's going to be screwed up forever because it's lacquered, it's varnished, it's so pretty. You get to go on all the doors and make holes. But there's a really cool jig that I set up, which means that this is all organized. So it's kind of like dummy proof. But let me show you how to do one. And then you've got like 10 of these to do. So I've adjusted it all. It's going to go on top of the door, flush with the edge. And it's got a backstop here. And then right there is the hole that we're going to want to make a new hole in a brand new door. So this drill bit is made to go in this hole. You do that, you make a little tiny hole. Same on this one, it goes on the door flush. Now it's using the other side and have to do a little hole. Now these are both to be exactly the same. So try it out.
Do I have to hold it?
Yeah.
Like this? Yeah, no, that's good, right? So I just drill a little bit. It doesn't fit anymore. Wow.
Doesn't fit.
Her first hole.
So that was the little hole, that's the easy one. Now the big one. You've already got a hole for a guide. Now you have to take the bigger drill bit that fits the big piece. And you have to make sure that tip goes right in the same hole you made. And then you begin to drill the hole. Hole started, you get to finish. Don't screw it up, this is your coffee bar.
Am I doing everything right?
You have to push.
Do I have to push harder? I'm afraid that I'm going to screw it up. I think I'm going to make fire. I feel like I'm drilling to the moon at this point. This is hard. It takes forever. Whoa, that was long. I'm stuck. Help. I'm staying here with the drill.
Alright, good job, but kind of messed up the back of the door. Well, now you see why I have this here, because that goes over the top so you don't see where it breaks out. But let me show you how this is supposed to be done.
Wow, that's impressive, Steve. You messed up the door too.
You only have 9 more to go.
Now I get to put the rings. Very nice. What I really hate hate about the boat shelves and living on the boat is that nothing ever fits from your appliances. They're either too big or they're too small. It's always something that you cannot put all your stuff inside, and that's why it's always sitting on the counter, and then your husband is like, why all these pots and pans are sitting on the counter? So anyway, so that's why this time we are hoping to prevent this from happening, because we are building this shelves from scratch. The problem is though, if your pots and pans do change, then you're kind of screwed, because then they have different size. Anyway, so what I'm supposed to do here? It fits!
Just say we have
It fits! The bottom line here is that when you do design your own cabinets, you have so much potential. You have so much more room, because obviously you're planning for your own needs. So hopefully this shelf height gonna incorporate this size of pots and pans. Because there are multiple here, by the way. Look at this. When you live on the boat, you actually have to have these foldable things. Oh, we are designing an off-grid boat, not the weekender cruiser boat. So that's why all these little details about the galley are so important.
We've also calculated the loads with the batteries and the solar that we can run the air up here, at least for some type of decent conditioning, but we don't want to be cooling the hulls during that time. So I've had to design a way that we could shut off the hulls, only have this be, I guess, environmentally controlled, and then we can take that and change it later on if we want to, and then air condition the hulls, and just the opposite. Typically on a catamaran, this is what you have as an open entry with steps that go down into the port or starboard hull, and it's all open. Sometimes there's a slider back there on some of the lagoons, but we want to be able to completely shut this area off for both temperature control and some security. So I've designed a slider system so the door will completely go and hide behind the steps and be out of the way, or it slides up into position and then folds over and closes this off, so we can open it from the top or the bottom. From downstairs we can lock this, so it's almost impossible to get into that hull from upstairs.
That's what the burglar gonna do, and get through your little thin plywood. It's like,
oh, is there somebody out there? Oh shit, it was my wife.
don't burglarize our boat. You're gonna be heavily injured.
In all seriousness, it's about being ready and having time. So if somebody does break into the boat, you're going to have time to hear them and then make adjustments as needed. So it's just one more barrier to entry. At the same time, maybe a little bit more peaceful sleep at night.
And then for the first line of defense, we have a super guard dog. Raven, boss! 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 Good boy! Okay, what is that good boy? Don't mess with our dog. He's learning this command. He's not like 100% yet. The moment you're gonna try to break in on our boat, he's gonna be ready.
I'm putting my money on the pepper spray. We realized after we took everything off the boat and weighed it and then put everything back on the boat, now we've about balanced, but we had one issue is that we haven't moved on here yet. So we had to look at materials that were a lot lighter to finish the shelving, cabinets, and some of the areas. So these bulkheads have changed 3 different times, from marine wood to smaller wood to now finally this core material, and it's doing an excellent job. It's light, strong, but I had to change the mounting process. That's going to take a little while to debug.
And all I hope for is that whatever I put on those shelves stays on the shelf and doesn't drop down.
And you guys know that you design something for that much stuff And then the wife comes along with 7 bags and keeps jamming it in and pushing it in there and say, I don't think it's big enough.
I don't think it's strong enough.
Well guys, I am starting on the port side hull, which has the head partially in place, and now I've got to look at the panels and how they're going to lay out with the shelving according to the way that I did the design, I guess, 4 months ago. Guys, recall I'm using a clear acrylic over the well that collects all the water from the complete port or starboard hull. There's one on port, one on starboard. This is where the bilge pump is, this is where the water pump is, it's where the outlet for the fresh water tank is. Effectively, it's a water well with everything installed. So I've got to have access to still get this hatch up with a flip of a light switch. Yana or I will be able to look down inside and see if we have anything going wrong as far as water intrusion, bilge pumps, etc. I still have the alarms, but now I have to make sure that this can be removed and not conflict with the shelving system. So I can give you guys a look at what this is going to finally be as a finished product. Let's have a look. The shelves and the bulkheads are now laid out. I've got the correct distances and I've got everything parallel to the hallway. So now I'm going to take these guys out, epoxy wooden slits on each side, and then paint so I've got the strength, and then I can put those back in permanently.
Going down.
The bulkheads are now in temporary. I'm ready to weld in the brackets, and I need to know where the shelving approximately goes so that again we can program for where the washer dryer goes, the washing machine. And then this incorporates the sliding doors. We removed all the doors on the boat. They will all be sliding and lock in place so they're not slamming and banging all over the place.
Before we discuss anything to do with these shelves and their size, we want to talk about welding. Thank you guys so much for those comments. I wasn't aware that my husband can die welding in this narrow hulls. So first we're going to discuss, Mr. How are you going to prevent yourself from dying welding those tabs?
We got a plan. Open the window. Open 2 windows. Open a hatch. We've been welding since we were about 7 years old with a stick welder. And yeah, we do hold our breath, weld a little bit, and get out. We don't sit here and breathe the fumes.
You forget that I'm checking those edits and I heard you taking a breath.
No comment.
Well, the thing here with the shelves is no different than with kitchen shelves, because again, who knows what exact size do you need? I personally am not a super how you say it, super office person?
Super organized.
Super organized, let's call it politely. I don't hang my clothes at all. William, on the other hand, loves his clothes being ironed and being hanging nice and accurately. So I told him, don't worry about me, I'll just throw all my stuff in a bunch of bins or boxes and then just make sure you have your little space for hanging stuff. So whatever it just has to be the size of the box. Big box. And that's it. In a mountain? What kind of shelves they are? Anyways, the only real thing that we need to decide here is on what side the washing machine goes. And I don't know, you guys tell me in the comments the logic. The logic here is obviously that... What is the logic here? I don't know.
The logic is if you do wash every 2 days, it's no big deal. But if you're doing wash once a month, all your dirty, stinky clothes and all your sweaty stuff is all sitting in one place where you're also taking a bath, shower, or sleeping. So my vote is get it on the other side of the boat where you don't see it until it reeks so bad, time to do something about it.
My vote is to keep it on that side because clearly he's not the one doing the wash, because once you take this whole wash from one side to another side of the boat, you have pieces of like socks and different stuff falling as you go with that blob out to dry it out. In our case, we can even dry it out in the shower partially. So I think it should go there. Plus you like come to the boat, you undress in that part because that's your living part, and that's you put all your dirty stuff inside the washing machine. You don't close it so they don't stink, so they don't mold, but they do stink a little bit in the shower. But anyways, and then it's there. You're done. Because why would you go and undress yourself here in the unliving location? Doesn't make any sense.
Well, in that case, we should just put a wash tub in the shower. You can put all your stuff in there. You can wash by hand and then hang it in the shower. And we don't need a machine. Think of the weight savings.
When we got this boat, the only one minus for us was the hulls. Also the doors just added to that because they were opening and closing this way, just adding to the narrowness. That's why we decided to go with sliding doors. I hit myself. So when they open or close, they're totally out of the way. I have an awful habit for a boater. I never close the door all the way till it latches. So when we are on the open seas, you can hear the door slamming, and then my husband screams.
So I designed everything to have sliders, and that way the sliding door, like in sometimes it's called a pocket door, hides when it's not being utilized and it's completely out of the way. So the first one has been installed and I love it. Two doors down, we went with sliding doors so that they're not banging and bouncing around. I had to figure out how to use these tracks and how to use these rollers and get it all mounted inside. So we're gonna go ahead and get one of these installed. Alright, all we have to do is put the bottom guide on and this one's done.
Finally guys, this one room is almost done. You can see the final look pretty much behind me. The porthole, the sliding door, beautiful white slats on the walls, and of course the floor. Look at the wooden floor, it's beautiful. Alright guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode that was about woodwork cabinets, bulkheads,
Sliding doors.
all kinds of finishing details, I guess, right?
It's pretty amazing that the demo and the walls going super fast in the floors, and now the detail work is taking so long because it's got to look good and it's got to be strong and it's got to survive us. So
Me. I'm the breaker. He's the fixer.
I want to do a lot less fixing when this boat's in the water.
You know what to do? If you haven't liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I don't know even why I'm saying this again. Why are you watching if you're not subscribed? I know, like I don't have Google account, I'm not logged in into YouTube, that's why I can't subscribe. Make an account. We are making an effort putting this content for you. Log in, create account, subscribe to the channel. Anyways, I'm joking. See you in the next one. Oh, in the next one, we're talking about the dinghy. We're gonna go into detail what happened, what's gonna be the solution.
The famous dinghy chronicles.
Yeah, the famous dinghy chronicles. We'll talk in details about our aluminum dinghy, our I have a new word, auxiliary, auxiliary dinghy.
Backup.
And even about our old dinghy. So tune in for the next week.